I got a phone call. And I answered, and he says, "This is Rusty." I said, "Hey, Rusty, how's it going?" He says, "We have a problem, Roland." I says, "What's the problem, Rusty?" He says, "I'm standing here with my Colt 45. I've got a guy down the ground. I'm on his back, and I got my 45 against his head. He's a poacher on your property. What should I do?" Hold a second, Rusty. I had to think. Well, you have all these thoughts flash through your mind right then. It's like, Rusty, Rusty is sort of an adopted son to me. I bought property down in East Texas, and 100 and some acres, and it had a little cove in it, and the fellow that sold me was Edsel Hicks, and has a son named Rusty. Well, Edsel really wanted to put this dam on, so I went down there a lot. And Rusty would always work with me. And we were going to put in a dam. Oh, I wanted to do that, man. So I love to work with heavy equipment. I'm like a kid with a Tonka toy. Yippee! And so what he would do is he'd take this backhoe and he'd put me out in the field and he'd start lifting, and he says, "Okay, Roland, dig the hole over there." So I'd go do it, and then he would take this big diesel caterpillar, and he would start moving soil for the dam. And we'd finish half a day, and I'd dig a hole about this wide, about this deep. And he'd done a quarter of the dam. And he'd come back and he'd say, "Okay, Roland, time to go lunch." So Rusty was just a nice guy. I mean, just a wonderful guy. So all these things went through my mind right away. So I had a person that inside him was wonderful. But he loved that property. And in Texas, they don't like poachers. So the next thing I said was, after I thought, that quarter of a second that all these thoughts went through, I said, "Rusty, you're angry, aren't you?" And then I thought about him taking me hunting. Well, I like to hunt with a bow. I like to deer hunt with a bow. But I'm not a walking deer hunter. I'm more of a sitting deer hunter. I will go out and I'll sort of set myself next to a tree, and Rusty would actually go out there ahead of time and he'd put up this little enclosure for me. And I'd sit there and I'd go out early in the morning before the sun came up, and I'd go sit in this chair that he set up and I'd watch for deer. Well, he gave me a gun one time, and it was a 308, and it was a nice rifle. But I used it for a whole morning and looked for deer. And I gave it back to Rusty. I said, this is too much of an overkill. I need my bow. So I went back to my bow and arrow. And of course, that afternoon I saw a deer, but I could have got it with a 308, but I couldn't have shot it with my bow. Well, I thought, oh. And then my mind went right back to Rusty, and I said, "Rusty, do you know the guy?" "No, I don't know him. He's from somewhere, but I just got him floored. I saw him coming, and I ran after him and tackled him and got him down and pulled out my 45, and I got him right here," he says. And I says, "Well, can we call the game warden?" Well, I could hear he'd calm down just a little. Now, you have to realize, at this moment, I was trying to put in the utility district for the city of Texarkana, right where it's located. And I could see the blaring headlines. Local vendor, in jail with local for murder. Well, I exaggerate. When I get frightened, I always seem to overkill things. So I said, Rusty, have you sent anyone for a game warden? He says, why don't you? So he actually knew the game warden's phone number, gave it to me. So I told Terry, I said, that was my wife, I said, Terry, call this number quick. So then I said, oh, well, I gotta handle Rusty. So I started talking to him. I said, Rusty, how's our dam coming? He says, pretty good, Roland. He says, I'm about 3/4 through with it now. We need to rent a cat again. I says, okay, Rusty. I says, Terry just called the game warden. You should hear a siren in a little while. He says, okay, well, he was calming down a little more. And I was breathing a little easier. And all of a sudden, Rusty said, oh, I see him. He's coming up the drive there. And the game warden came out. And he came over and says, Rusty, I'll take over now. And Rusty said, okay, game warden. And he says, thanks, Roland. You saved a man's life.